I froze mid-step in the hallway of St. Mark's Church in Chicago. My cousin Rachel had just spoken words that hit me like a punch to the chest. $15,000 for a wedding gift? You're such an amazing sister. Her voice echoed down the corridor, casual but sharp enough to slice right through me. The gift card tucked inside my purse suddenly felt like a heavy stone pressing against my hip. $5,000. That's what it was worth. $5,000 I had saved over 2 long months. Skipping lunches out at work, eating noodles at my desk, canceling weekend trips, and cutting every little corner I could just to make this happen. My fingers curled tight around the strap of my handbag, the leather biting into my palm. Rachel turned, her champagne glass sloshing dangerously as she spotted me standing there. Oh! Her eyes widened. Her lips formed a perfect O of surprise. Was it supposed to be a secret? My public relations training kicked in before my emotions could betray me. My lips stretched into something like a smile. It didn't feel real. My face was stiff, my chest was heavy, but the mask slipped on automatically. Don't worry about it, I managed. My voice calm and steady, far calmer than I felt. These things have a way of getting out. Relief softened Rachel's face. She reached forward, squeezing my arm with a smile. Still, what a generous gift. Emily is lucky to have you. The hallway suddenly felt longer, narrower. I nodded, muttered something polite, and kept walking on legs that felt like they were made of $15,000. Not 5. 15. The bathroom door was heavier than it had any right to be. I shoved through, locked myself in the farthest stall, and collapsed against the wall. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely unlock my phone. I pulled up my banking app, the numbers glowing back at me in mocking bold font. The balance was low, painfully low, the result of late nights at the office and weeks of sacrifice. I opened my email, scrolling until I found the receipt. There it was. The confirmation number, the purchase date, and the amount. $5,000. Black and white, proof. But Rachel hadn't said 5. She'd said 15. And instantly, my mother's voice played in my head. You know, with your PR salary, everyone expects something substantial. I remembered her saying that last Sunday at brunch, her fork clinking against her mimosa glass. Her tone casual but sharp. The way she emphasized that word, substantial, made my stomach twist. And Emily, my younger sister, had nodded right along. Jenny's sister gave her $20,000 for her wedding, Emily had added with a little smirk. Must be nice to have such a generous family. I had told them about my gift. $5,000. I thought it was enough. I thought it was more than enough. But the way they looked at me, dismissive, unimpressed, made my throat tighten. That gift represented 60-hour work weeks. Nights I worked late while friends went out for happy hour. Vacations I canceled. Also, I could give something meaningful. But it was never enough for them. My heart pounded so hard. I thought I might pass out. I pressed my shaking hands against the cool metal of the stall door, willing myself to breathe. 1 breath. 2. 3. Finally, I forced myself up and walked to the sink. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead as I stared at my reflection. Jessica Carter. 31 years old. Public relations specialist. Reliable daughter. Giving sister. My makeup was flawless. My burgundy dress wrinkle-free. My smile practiced, pleasant. But there was something new in my eyes. Something hard. Something fierce. I pulled the gift card from its wrapping. The silver ribbon I had tied so carefully earlier was now crushed between my fingers. 15,000. That's what they told everyone. And this wasn't the first time. Flashes of memory tore through me. The check I wrote to cover Emily's last semester of college when she decided to study abroad. The loan I gave my parents when their roof collapsed. The hospital bills after Dad's minor surgery. Each time. The same routine, their needs presented casually. They're reminders about how lucky I was in my career. Their guilt trips. And each time, the gratitude was fleeting, shallow, never enough. I washed my hands slowly, carefully. Reapplied my lipstick. Smoothed down my dress. Not this time. When I returned to the rehearsal dinner, my steps were steady. My eyes scanned the crowded room until I spotted them. Mom and Emily, side by side at the head table. Their conversation stopped the moment they saw me. Their smiles were wide, a little too wide. For a brief moment, guilt flickered across Emily's face. But then she laughed at something Dad said, covering it like she always did. Miss Carter? The wedding planner appeared at my side, clipboard in hand, her professional smile in place. Your mother mentioned you'd like to announce your gift during tomorrow's reception? I turned toward her slowly, my voice surprisingly calm. Actually, I have a better idea, I said. Could I be added to the toast list? Before my mother speaks, the planner nodded, scribbling on her clipboard. Of course. Right after the father-daughter dance? Perfect, I replied, forcing a smile. The weight of the gift card in my purse felt heavier than ever. They'll be surprised, I whispered under my breath. Very surprised. That night, back at the hotel, my keycard slipped from my trembling fingers. Inside the room, I kicked off my heels and sank onto the edge of the bed. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Don't forget your speech tomorrow. Everyone's so excited about your generous gift, I switched the phone off. Pulled out my laptop. On the glowing screen, a spreadsheet appeared. My secret ledger. My history of silent sacrifices dot row after row of numbers. 4,700. Dad's knee surgery bills. $7,200. Mom and Dad's roof repair. $11,340. Emily's study abroad semester in Barcelona. $3,890. Emily's car breakdown. $5,450. Parents' anniversary cruise. The total sat at the bottom, bold and undeniable. $47,380. Nearly a year of my salary after taxes. Money that should have been a down payment on the small bungalow I'd been eyeing for months. The one with the bay window and reading nook. The one the realtor kept calling me about. I opened my email inbox. Dozens of old messages from Emily filled the screen. Thank you so much for tuition. I'll pay you back someday. Love you. You're literally a lifesaver with the car thing. I owe you big time. Barcelona wouldn't have happened without you. Best sister ever. Not a single penny repaid. Then a voicemail. My thumb hesitated before I pressed play. Sweetheart, it's Mom. Just checking you're bringing the gift tomorrow. We told everyone about your generous contribution. 15,000 is such a meaningful number for our family since Emily was born on the 15th. Anyway, call me back. 15,000? They chose that number on purpose. A number I could never afford without draining everything I had left. The hotel phone rang. Jolting me. You're not answering your cell, came the voice of my best friend Claire. Strong, steady, familiar. They told everyone I'm giving Emily 15,000, I said flatly. What? Claire's voice spiked. That's 3 times what you planned. I let out a hollow laugh. According to my spreadsheet, it's not even their biggest ask. What spreadsheet? And so I told her. Every detail. Every loan. Every bill. Every transfer. $47,000 in 3 years, Jessica, Claire whispered. That's financial abuse. The word slammed into me. I had never labeled it before. But now it fit. This ends now, Claire said firmly. They've been using you as their personal ATM for too long. It's not that simple, I whispered double quotes. Yes, it is. You just let them make it complicated. Your mom orchestrates it, Emily plays along, and your dad sits back without defending you. That's the pattern. Break it. Her words hit me harder than I expected. My parents. My sister. My betrayers. But if I don't give what they promised, I'll look like the villain, I argued. The morning of the wedding began with sunlight slicing through the hotel curtains. Sharp and merciless. My alarm buzzed at 7. Though I hadn't really slept out, my phone was already lit with notifications. Messages from cousins, reminders from the wedding planner, a voicemail from Mom that I didn't dare play. I ignored them all instead. I sat at the small desk, staring at my laptop screen. My spreadsheet of debts glowed back at me. Every number a reminder of the years I'd spent putting everyone else first. $47,380. I whispered the number aloud, as though naming it would lessen its power. It didn't dot my address hung on the closet door. Navy silk, sleek and understated. I slipped into it mechanically, my hands moving without thought. My mind was elsewhere, rehearsing. Over and over the toast. I knew exactly what I would say. By the time I arrived at the church, the parking lot was already buzzing with SUVs and rented sedans. Women in pastel dresses clustered together, fanning themselves with programs. Men in stiff tuxedos tugged at their collars in the September heat. Inside, the air smelled of roses and candle wax. The ceremony space shimmered with fairy lights strung across the altar. My parents had spared no expense for Emily's big day. And why wouldn't they? I had helped cover the deposit for this very venue when their credit cards maxed out last spring. Jessica! The voice snapped me out of my thoughts. My Aunt Lorraine bustled toward me, her sequined dress glittering. She hugged me tightly, pressing her perfume-heavy cheek against mine. "You're such a blessing," she whispered, her eyes glassy. "That gift of yours is just incredible." 15,000. My goodness, you've outdone yourself. The words stabbed like knives, but I smiled. Always smiling. Always composed. "Thank you," I said softly. Her hand lingered on my arm. "Emily is so lucky to have you." "Really?" I excused myself quickly, weaving through the crowd until I found a quiet corner near the side aisle. My breathing was uneven, shallow. 15,000. Always 15. That lie had spread like wildfire. "Jess!" I turned to find Emily herself standing there, radiant in her white gown. The lace sleeves shimmered under the church lights, her hair pinned into a perfect updo. She looked like a painting, delicate and untouchable. For a moment, I almost forgot my anger. Almost. She bit her lip, her eyes darting away from mine. "Listen, about the gift thing." I raised an eyebrow. "What about it?" Her hands twisted together nervously. "Mom just exaggerated. You know how she is." "She didn't mean harm." "Exaggerated?" My voice was low, sharp. Emily flinched. "It's just, people expect certain things, Jess. You're successful. I mean, you're the older sister. Everyone looks up to you." I stared at her, waiting. Finally, she whispered, "Please don't ruin this for me." "Not today. Just let it go." The audacity of it nearly stole my breath. She wanted me to swallow it down again. To let the lie stand. To play my role as the dutiful older sister. "Don't worry," I said evenly. "I won't ruin your day." Relief flooded her face. She squeezed my hand, smiled brightly, and hurried back toward the bridal suite. But she didn't realize I hadn't promised silence. I had promised nothing. The ceremony itself was a blur. Vows exchanged. Rings slipped on. Applause rising like a wave. My mother dabbing at her eyes, my father looking proud, Emily glowing like the center of the universe. I clapped when everyone clapped. I smiled when everyone smiled. My mask was flawless. It wasn't until the reception that everything began to sharpen. The banquet hall sparkled with chandeliers, white linens, and gold-trimmed plates. A string quartet played softly as waiters poured champagne into tall glasses. At the head table, Emily and her new husband basked in the spotlight, cameras flashing nonstop. My parents sat beside them, glowing with pride. Everywhere I turned, whispers followed. "That's her, the sister who gave 15,000. Such generosity. Imagine being that selfless. No wonder Emily adores her." Each murmur pressed down on me, a weight that grew heavier by the minute. I sipped champagne, but it turned sour on my tongue. I pushed food around my plate, but my appetite was gone. Finally, the lights dimmed. The wedding planner stepped onto the stage, microphone in hand. "Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for toasts." My heart pounded. The father-daughter dance ended with applause. Emily glowed in her new husband's arms. "First," the planner continued, "we'll hear from the bride's sister, Jessica Carter." The spotlight hit me like a physical force. I rose slowly, smoothing my dress, clutching the stem of my champagne glass so tightly my knuckles turned white. Every eye in the room followed me as I stepped onto the stage. My voice trembled, for only a second before it steadied. "Good evening, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jessica, Emily's older sister." Polite laughter rippled across the room. I smiled, practiced and perfect. Emily and I have shared many things over the years. Secrets, clothes, tears, even money. A ripple of confusion. Some chuckles. My mother's face stiffened. I went on. "When Emily studied abroad in Barcelona, I covered her tuition so she wouldn't miss the opportunity. When her car broke down, I wrote the check. When our parents' roof collapsed, I paid the contractor. When Dad needed surgery, I handled the hospital bills." Gasps began to spread. Emily's smile froze. My mother shifted uncomfortably, her pearls catching the light. I paused, letting the silence stretch. "And now," I continued, my voice clear and strong, "people have been told I gave $15,000 as a wedding gift." All eyes swung to my parents. My mother's lips parted in protest. "That isn't true," I said calmly. "I gave 5,000, which for me represents 2 months of saving. Canceling vacations, skipping meals, and saying no to myself so I could say yes to my family. The room was utterly silent. Over the past 3 years, I added, pulling a folded sheet of paper from my purse, I have given a total of $47,380 to my parents and my sister. The number echoed through the hall like a cannon blast. Whispers erupted. Gasps. Someone dropped a fork. I turned toward Emily, who sat frozen, her face pale. My gift tonight may not be $15,000, but it is the truth. And the truth, unlike money, can't be stretched, borrowed, or repaid. I raised my glass, my hand steady at last. To Emily and Daniel. May your marriage be built on honesty. I drank deeply. The silence that followed was deafening. Then chaos. Jessica. My mother's voice was shrill, cutting through the chatter as she leapt from her chair. What have you done? Guests murmured, shifting uncomfortably. Cameras clicked as whispers spread like wildfire. You've embarrassed us, she shrieked, in front of everyone. My father's face darkened, veins bulging at his temple. You ungrateful child, he hissed. After everything we've done for you, I laughed, bitter, sharp. Everything you've done for me? Or everything I've done for you? My words silenced him. Emily rose, tears streaking her mascara. How could you do this? She sobbed. Why couldn't you just let me have one perfect day? Because perfection built on lies always crumbles, I replied softly. The wedding planner tried to regain control, tapping the microphone, but it was useless. The reception dissolved into chaos. Some guests hurried out muttering. Others stayed, watching the drama unfold like a reality show. A few cousins actually clapped, though they were quickly silenced by glares. My mother's screams rose above it all. Get out! You've ruined everything. You're not my daughter anymore. Her words were sharp enough to cut bone. But for the first time in years, I felt light, free. I set my glass down gently on the table and turned toward the exit. Behind me, the chaos roared on. But I didn't look back. That night, back in the hotel, I collapsed onto the bed. Still in my navy dress. My hands trembled, my chest ached, but my heart was steady. My phone buzzed nonstop. Dozens of missed calls, voicemails, messages. I ignored them all. Finally, one text appeared from an unknown number. Thank you for saying what needed to be said. You were brave tonight. I stared at it for a long time, then placed the phone face down. For the first time in years, I slept soundly. When I woke the next morning, sunlight spilled through the hotel curtains, warm and almost mocking. My phone was already buzzing on the nightstand, vibrating against the wood like it was desperate to be heard. 20-3 missed calls. 11 voicemails. More than 40 text messages. Most were from my mother. A few from my father. Emily's name appeared again and again, alternating between angry bursts and pitiful pleas. You've destroyed our family's reputation. How could you humiliate your sister like that? Please, Jess, don't let last night be the final memory of my wedding. You're sick. You need help. We never want to see you again. I locked the screen and placed the phone face down. The silence that followed was oddly soothing. I ordered coffee to the room, sat cross-legged on the bed, and stared at the ceiling. For the first time in years, I felt no immediate obligation. No fire to put out. No bill to cover. No crisis to solve. Just me. And yet, beneath the calm, something else simmered. A creeping uncertainty. Guilt's familiar cousin. Had I gone too far? The question needled me as I showered, packed, and checked out of the hotel. Every person I passed in the lobby seemed to glance twice at me as though they knew. As though the gossip had already reached them. By the time I slid into the back of a cab, my stomach was in knots. Where to? The driver asked. I hesitated. O'Hare, I said finally. I had a return flight to New York in 3 hours. Work awaited, and with it, the comforting routine of deadlines, campaigns, and with it, the comforting routine of deadlines, campaigns, and clients who valued my skills. Chicago was behind me now. Or so I thought. 2 days later, the gossip hit the internet. It started with a local wedding blog. A guest had apparently sent in an anonymous tip. The headline made my stomach drop. Bride's sister stuns. Guest with explosive wedding toast. Family secrets exposed. The article was short, but merciless, painting me as dramatic, attention-seeking, vindictive. Comments flooded in. How tacky. Who ruins a wedding like that? 5,000 is still generous. Why humiliate the bride? Sounds like jealousy to me. But scattered among the venom were other voices. Good for her. Family shouldn't exploit one sibling like that. 40-7,000. That's abuse, not generosity. Sometimes the truth needs to be spoken. Even if it hurts. The story spread, picked up by larger outlets, rehashed on forums. Strangers dissected my life, my motives, my finances, as if I were a character in a soap opera, instead of a flesh and blood woman sitting in her Brooklyn apartment with trembling hands. Claire came over that night, a bag of Tide takeout in her arms. She plopped onto my couch, handed me a container, and switched on Netflix. You're not reading comments, are you? She asked, narrowing her eyes. I hesitated. Maybe a few, Jess. Her tone was sharp. Stop, they don't know you. They don't matter. I pushed noodles around with my fork. But what if they're right? What if I ruined everything for no reason? She set her food down and looked at me squarely. No, you ruined their narrative. You didn't ruin everything. You broke a cycle they were perfectly happy to keep running at your expense. Her conviction steadied me. I nodded slowly, chewing thoughtfully. Still, the guilt gnawed at me. Years of conditioning don't vanish overnight. The next blow came a week later, in the form of a certified letter. Inside, a notice of emotional damages drafted by my father's attorney. They were threatening to sue me for defamation, claiming my toast had harmed their reputation and caused financial losses due to withdrawn wedding sponsorships. I laughed aloud, bitter and disbelieving. Unreal, Claire muttered when I showed her. They drain you dry for years, and when you finally draw a line, they want more. I called an attorney the next day. A colleague recommended a woman named Marissa Grant, sharp and fearless. Her office smelled of leather and fresh coffee. She skimmed the letter, then looked up at me with a faint smile. They don't have a case, she said. You didn't defame anyone. You stated facts, and you have receipts. Bank transfers, emails, voicemails. You kept records, yes? I nodded. Every penny. Her smile widened. Good, then let them try. I'll make sure they regret it. Relief washed over me. For once, someone was in my corner who wasn't asking me for money. But while lawyers handled the legal mess, the personal fallout deepened. Cousins unfollowed me on Instagram. Family friends stopped returning my calls. My parents sent one final message, cold and sharp. Until you apologize publicly, you are no longer welcome in this family. The words stung, even though I'd braced for them. The finality of it pressed on my chest like a weight. I found myself staring at old photographs late into the night. Emily and I as kids, splashing in sprinklers. Mom braiding my hair before my first dance recital. Dad teaching me how to ride a bike. Were those moments lies too? Or had something broken along the way, twisting love into control, generosity into obligation? The questions haunted me. One evening, I called Emily. To my surprise, she answered. Her voice was small, brittle. What do you want? She asked. I swallowed hard. I wanted to see if you're okay. Silence crackled through the line. You ruined my wedding, she whispered finally. Do you know how many people have called me? How humiliated I am. Everyone's talking about us. I didn't ruin it, I said softly. I told the truth. And the truth was always there, Emily. You just didn't want it spoken. She sniffed. Why couldn't you wait? Why not talk to me privately? Because privately never worked, I replied. Every time I was told to stay quiet, to keep giving, to sacrifice more. You knew it. Mom knew it. Dad knew it. Another long silence. Then, in the faintest voice, I never asked you for all of it. I laughed bitterly. No, but you accepted it. Every check, every transfer, every bailout. You never refused. You never repaid. Her breathing hitched. I can't talk about this. The line went dead. I sat there staring at the phone, tears blurring my vision. Not angry tears this time. Just grief. Grief for the sister I thought I had. Work became my refuge. Campaigns, meetings, press releases, the rhythm grounded me. My colleagues, blissfully unaware of the drama, valued me for my skills, not my bank account. Yet, outside the office, whispers followed. Friends who had attended the wedding pulled away, uncomfortable with the mess. Others leaned in closer, suddenly eager for the inside story. I gave them nothing. Instead, I poured energy into something new. I met with Marissa again, not about lawsuits this time, but about financial boundaries. She connected me with a financial coach who specialized in survivors of family exploitation. Survivors. The word made my chest tighten. The coach, a woman named Dana, listened patiently as I laid everything out. The loans, the guilt trips, the emotional manipulation. You've been trained to equate love with sacrifice, Dana said gently. But love without respect is just control. You can break this pattern. Her words became a lifeline. Week by week, I built a budget that prioritized me. I set boundaries, wrote scripts for declining requests, rehearsed saying no without apology. It felt strange, selfish even, but also liberating. One evening, a package arrived at my apartment. No return address. Inside, a blue velvet box. My stomach flipped. I opened it slowly. Breath-catching. Inside lay a delicate silver bracelet. My grandmother's. The one Emily had worn at the wedding. A note rested beneath it. I don't know if I hate you or envy you, but part of me wishes I had your courage. I traced the handwriting with my fingers, tears welling. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't reconciliation. But it was something, maybe, just maybe. The truth had cracked something open. For the first time in years, I went to bed without my phone buzzing from family demands. No late-night emergencies. No last-minute pleas. Just silence. And in that silence, I felt something I hadn't in a very long time. Peace. Autumn arrived in New York like a slow exhale. The air cooled, leaves curled into fire-colored edges, and the city seemed to settle after summer's restless energy. I welcomed it. Every morning, I walked to work past rows of changing trees, coffee warming my hands, a small smile tugging at my lips. Not forced, not practiced, genuine. It had been 6 weeks since the wedding. 6 weeks since I detonated the facade my family had built around me. 6 weeks since my phone had stopped buzzing with endless requests. The silence still felt strange. At first it was deafening, lonely. I'd glance at my phone, half expecting a new demand. Cover the bill, Jess. Help us out, Jess. Just this once. Jess. But instead, the screen stayed dark. And slowly, the silence became freedom. One Saturday morning, Claire and I sat at a cafe near Prospect Park. She was halfway through a croissant when she asked, "So how does it feel being cut off?" I laughed, stirring my latte. Like I lost 50 pounds overnight. Some days I miss them. Most days I don't. Her eyes softened. That's grief, Jess. You're grieving the family you wanted, not the one you had. I nodded. She was right. I had spent years twisting myself into knots, believing if I gave enough, sacrificed enough, proved myself enough, they'd finally see me as worthy of love. But their love had always come with a price tag. I'm done paying, I said firmly. Claire raised her coffee in a toast. To freedom. We clinked mugs. At work, I started saying yes to things I'd once postponed. Leading a new campaign. Taking a business trip to London. Even signing up for a creative writing class after hours. It turned out I had more energy and more money when I wasn't financing everyone else's dreams. I opened a savings account labeled Home Fund. Each transfer felt like a brick laid towards something that was mine. No more canceled vacations. No more ramen dinners so someone else could take a cruise. This time, I was building for me. Then, one crisp evening in late October, I received an email. The subject line, family reunion. It was from my cousin Rachel, the same one who had unknowingly sparked everything with her careless comment in the church hallway. She wrote, "Hey Jess, I don't know if you've heard, but there's a family gathering for Thanksgiving this year at Aunt Loren's place. I wanted to reach out directly because, well, things have been complicated. I think you should come. Some people might give you looks, but others see you differently now. Braver, stronger. Anyway, it's your choice, but I hope to see you there." I read the email 3 times, my pulse quickening. Part of me ached at the thought of being back in the same room with my parents, with Emily, the shame, the anger, the raw wounds. But another part of me whispered, you don't have to hide anymore. On Thanksgiving morning, I drove upstate to Aunt Loren's. The roads were quiet, the trees stripped bare, the sky pale gray. When I arrived, kids darted across the yard, laughter spilling into the crisp air. The house glowed warm with light and the smell of roasting turkey. Inside, conversations faltered as I walked through the door. 100 eyes turned, some faces tightened. My mother's lips thinned. My father's jaw clenched. Emily looked away, but Rachel broke the silence, sweeping me into a hug. You came! Slowly, conversations resumed. Not with ease, but with inevitability. I spent most of the evening with cousins, telling stories, laughing, eating too much pie. A few leaned in quietly to say, "You were brave." Others avoided me altogether. I noticed Emily across the room, her new husband's arm draped around her. She looked tired, older somehow. At one point, our eyes met. For a moment, neither of us looked away, but she didn't come over. And I didn't push it. Late in the evening, as people bundled into coats, my father approached. His expression was tight, unreadable. "We didn't raise you to humiliate your family," he said quietly. I met his gaze evenly. "And I didn't spend my life working hard to be treated like a bank." His jaw worked, but he said nothing more. He turned and walked away. It wasn't reconciliation. It wasn't healing. But it was clarity. Back in Brooklyn, I decorated my apartment for the holidays for the first time in years. A tiny tree in the corner. String lights across the window. The glow filled the space with warmth that felt entirely my own. On Christmas Eve, I invited friends over, Claire, coworkers, neighbors from my building. We drank mulled wine, exchanged small gifts, and sang off key carols. And for the first time in my adult life, I wasn't broke, exhausted, or resentful. I was happy. In January, I signed papers on the bungalow I'd dreamed about for years. The bay window, the reading nook, the little patch of backyard where, come spring, I'd planned to plant roses. The realtor slid the keys into my hand with a smile. "Congratulations, Jessica. It's all yours. Double quotes mine. The word felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. Months later, I found myself sitting in that bay window, a cup of tea in hand, sunlight spilling across my lap. I thought about Emily sometimes, about the note she'd sent with Grandma's bracelet, about the possibility, faint, fragile, that one day we might talk again. But I no longer lived for that hope. Family, I realized, wasn't just blood. It was the people who respected boundaries, who loved without conditions, who celebrated your worth without attaching a price tag. Claire was family. My friends were family. And maybe someday I'd build more of my own. For now, I had peace. I had freedom. I had a home that was truly mine. And most importantly, I had myself, for the first time in 31 years. That was enough. Sometimes I still hear my mother's words in the back of my mind. "You're not my daughter anymore," but I've learned something since then. I am my own, not theirs. Not defined by their demands or their lies. Just mine. And that, I've realized, is the greatest gift I could ever give myself. "Only to people who don't matter," Claire replied. "This is your chance, Jess. Break the cycle. Once and for all."